Karate Kata. Kata is a Japanese word describing detailed patterns of movements practiced either solo or in pairs. Karate kata are executed as a specified series of a variety of moves with stepping and turning while attempting to maintain perfect form. The kata is not intended as a literal depiction of a mock fight, but as a display of transition and flow from one posture and movement to another, teaching the student proper form and position and encouraging them to visualize different scenarios for the use of each motion and technique. Karateka, a kata, in order to explain the imagined events, a practice known as bunkai. There are various kata, each with minor variations. Related topics. Pinan. The Pinan kata are a series of 5 empty hand forms taught in many karate styles. Shodan, Nidan, Sandan, Yondan, and Goden. Taikyoku. Taikyoku Shodan is the first of 3 practice katas that are separate from the 26 primary katas found within the Shotokan karate system. Taikyoku Shodan is the most basic of these kata and is primarily used to teach beginners the fundamental aspects of kata. Neihanchi is a karate kata performed in straddle stance. It translates to internal divided conflict. Seichen. The name Seichen, meaning 3 battles, is sometimes interpreted as the battle to unify the mind, body, and spirit. However, there are other interpretations of it and many esoteric notions with it. Seisan literally means 13. Some people refer to the kata as 13 hands, 13 fists, 13 techniques, or 13 steps. However, these names have no historical basis. Pasai, to break, to penetrate the fortress, extract and block the attack. Pasai is one of the oldest forms practiced in karate. Its undeniable Chinese roots date back many centuries ago and greatly influenced the practice of empty hand arts of combat in Okinawa. Kusanku translates as looking at the sky or viewing the sky, referring to the kata's opening sequence. The word dai is big, is used to describe the kata's larger movements as compared to the kata's smaller version, Kanku Sho. Kanku is one of the 3 Shotokan kata that have 2 versions, dai, meaning big, and sho, meaning small. Enpai. Enpai is a kata practiced by Shotokan and other karate styles. Enpai means flying swallow. Enpai comes from the Okinawan martial art of tomarite, where it first appeared in 1683. It is believed to have influenced by Chinese boxing. It is the sister kata to Wansu. Anan is a karate kata, which is a traditional method of recording a sequence of movements for offense and defense. Zhong is a representative kata in the Shotokan system because of the importance of the perfection of the basic stances it contains, notably Zenkutsu Dachi, which is front stance, and Kiba Dachi, horse stance. Also practiced in some Shito Ryu organizations, emphasis is also placed on Kokutsu Dachi or back stance. The following slides will show you how we teach kata and the origins of kata. Teaching. Kata means form. It is a skill building process to shift the mindset and habits from a natural tendency to jump to conclusions to a tendency to act scientifically. Kata is essential to fine-tune the body's mechanics, including muscle memory, needed to execute martial arts techniques properly. There are 102 katas approved by the World Karate Federation and performed at WKF recognized events. When done correctly, the mind clears and the kata is simply expressed through a karateka and is referred to as mushin, or no mind. Reactions become instinctively and not reactively. Teaching. 7 ways to teach kata. Form. Form is the first way that one learns and is the most important. If one executes techniques with correct form, one is doing them in the strongest and most efficient and therefore quickest manner. Form is something that one is continually refining and perfecting. One never masters a particular technique. Rather, one continually improves and moves closer to perfection. Poor form causes a corruption of the principles. When one corrupts a principle, one loses power and effectiveness proportionately. For example, if one's elbow is not behind the fist when punching, and the elbow is allowed to flare out, one will lose power and strength. For every incremental degree that the elbow moves out to the side when punching, one loses more and more power. This is true for all the principles and is why one must continually strive to execute techniques with the correct form. To improve form, practice the kata very slowly and concentrate on doing each technique with the proper checkpoints and correct application of principles. At the same time, visualize yourself doing the technique perfectly. Power. One key to increasing power is to utilize more of the body. The legs, hips, shoulders, and arms for punches must work together to produce the maximum amount of force. The correct timing and sequence of the notions comprising the techniques are critical. To improve power, concentrate on doing each technique as forcefully as possible with the correct sequence of body parts. It helps to pause slightly between each technique because this allows time to concentrate on generating the greatest amount of power. Speed. Relaxation equals speed. One of the biggest barriers to increasing speed is excessive and unnecessary tension in the muscles. Unfortunately, tension often increases when one tries to do a motion faster. This is because the trying gets in the way of the doing. Less effort is better than more effort when it comes to increasing speed. To improve speed, concentrate on staying loose and relaxed while avoiding trying too hard. Do not worry about the amount of force generated by the techniques. The techniques should be light and quick when practiced for speed. Eye contact. Eye contact emphasizes the visualization of opponents as the kata is executed. Without this visualization, kata practice cannot simulate the feeling of an actual fight, and practice will not be as beneficial as it could be. To improve and practice eye contact, look sharply on each turn and actually see an opponent in the mind's eye. Try to feel each block deflecting an attack and each strike making contact with an opponent. Breathing. The idea is to coordinate breathing from the diaphragm with the execution of techniques. This helps to control one's respiration rate and may be used to augment power. To breathe from the diaphragm when inhaling, the lower belly, and not the chest, should expand first as air is brought to the lungs. To breathe from the diaphragm when exhaling, the lower belly should pull inwards to force the air out of the lungs. To practice coordinating breathing with the execution of techniques, inhale on the blocking techniques and exhale on the striking techniques. The exhale should be short, focused, bursts of air done with the teeth together. This is sometimes described as spitting out the air. Fighting rhythms. The timing and rhythm of attacks and counters in an actual fight is erratic. It is therefore important to train oneself to adjust to varying speeds. All blocking techniques are ineffective if they are done too fast or too slow. The timing needs to match exactly the speed of the attack. To practice kata for the development of fighting rhythms, break the kata down into a series that seem logically connected. Each series should represent an encounter with one or more opponent. Try to simulate the rhythm of an actual fight by varying the speed and pausing between each series. If kata is not practiced for fighting rhythms, the kata may become blurred and a purely mechanical repetition of choreographed movements. Kiai. Kiai means to unite the spirit or internal energies. The idea is to coordinate all of the entire being's energy into the execution of the techniques. A kiai is frequently done by forcing the air out of the diaphragm while executing a punch or a kick. The forced exhale is what produces the loud shout one normally associates with kiai. When done properly, kiai unites one's internal energies with the physical energy produced by the contraction of the muscle. This makes the techniques incredibly powerful. To practice with kiai, imagine all of the energy of the entire being is being unified and projected outward as the technique is executed. There should be a feeling of intense focus. It helps to add the loud shout to some of the punches, kicks, or strikes in the kata. Origin. Kata originated in China in the 11th century and in the late 13th century was brought to Okinawa, Japan. It was used to develop soldiers when weapons were banned and eventually brought into the education system. If it weren't for Anko Tosu, karate may not have made its way into today's world. Until the 1930s, it was the only way that traditional masters taught the discipline of martial arts.